Okay, we're going to start the panel discussion this afternoon, and the format will be that each panelist will have an opportunity to introduce themselves and talk, give us a snap version of their mission and vision and their programs and what they do, and then we will launch into questions. And although I'm always prepared to have some questions to start the conversation, if you have some questions off the bat that you're ready to talk about, we will do this. While we are clear that this is going to be a tough topic to discuss today, I really encourage you to ask those questions that you really would like answers to. And none of those questions are off limits. And so think about what those are, and we will get to those in a minute when we do this format. So I'm going to start right here, and if you just give us the 1-minute introduction and your organization and who you represent, and we'll follow down the row, and then we'll get started with the audience questions.
Great. Thank you for inviting me to be on this panel here today. My name is Kirsha Haberlaw. I work with Travis County Constable Bruce Elfant, and I'm a co-chair of the Austin-Travis County Family Violence Task Force. The task force is not a nonprofit. It is comprised of several different agencies and organizations, law enforcement, social service agencies, and legal services. And it was formed 20 years ago this year. It doesn't take participating on a task force to know that domestic violence is a major social issue, both nationally and here in Austin. It is my hope that this group here today, through meaningful and educational dialogue, can be a catalyst for change in our community and contribute to a solution to the problem of domestic violence.
Great, thank you.
My name is Annette Lamoureux. I'm the legal director at Texas Advocacy Project. Some of you might have known us under our former name, Women's Advocacy Project. We are a legal services organization that represents victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. And we have several programs in which we do that. One of them is we have 3 statewide hotlines that have a family law hotline, a domestic violence hotline, and a sexual assault hotline. Not surprisingly, a lot of the calls that come in on the family hotline turn out to be domestic violence calls, and I have staff attorneys who are trained to talk with callers and find out what their real legal problems are. One of the things that we feel very strongly about is that domestic violence victims, to bring them from being a victim to being a survivor, is to look at their problems holistically. One of the things that we know is that it's important to get out of an abusive relationship, which is where Safe Place comes in. But one of the things that is really important in making that difference between somebody who's left and somebody who's going to go back is legal services. It's being able to file a suit affecting a parent-child relationship, asking for child support, dealing with economic empowerment issues. And so that's where we come in. And so my staff attorneys are able to walk our callers through some of the problems that they may be facing once they've made that first step of leaving their batterer. We also have 2 attorneys who work with the Austin Police Department and talk with those victims whose batterers have recently been arrested and discuss with them whether or not they want emergency protective orders. I have a staff attorney who was involved in doing some of these great posters here, and she specifically works with teen victims of domestic violence and dating violence as well. And we have a statewide program where we work with clients who are, for whatever reason, fall through the cracks and aren't able to be served by traditional legal services organizations. And we work with them in our assisted pro se program. And that involves helping them to draft their pleadings and walking them through the court process. Some of those clients end up becoming direct representation clients as well. And then what I do is mostly dealing with those clients who, in the course of going through the legal system, discover that because they're victims, because they're poor, because they're pro se, that they encounter various barriers to accessing the court system. And so we litigate those issues on both a local and a statewide basis to make sure that those victims don't get victimized again when they try and access services or enforce their rights through the court system.
Thank you. Amy?
Good afternoon. I'm Amy Temperley. I am Senior Director of Development at Safe Place. Safe Place started in really the mid to late 70s as 2 separate agencies, the Austin Rick Crisis Center and the Center for Battered Women, and came together about 11, 12 years ago, realizing that we were addressing the same issues essentially, which is violence against women. The nice thing with Safe Places, we don't just address issues with women. As you know, violence is, as we talk about this today, we seem to talk a lot about violence against women, but the reality is that men are involved in that as well, and all of us provide services, I'm sure, for people that need that. Our mission at Safe Place is safety, healing, prevention, and social change. We believe very strongly, again, in that holistic thing. You have to start with the safety and meeting people's basic needs, but then being able to move them on into empowerment, but then also working with the community to change our views on what violence is so that it becomes unacceptable, so that it becomes something that we do as a community do not tolerate. On the safety end, we have a 105-bed shelter on campus. We house women, children, sometimes whole families, men, whatever we need to do. And that's done very much sadly, on a lethality basis. It's a triage. It's whoever's in the most danger, that's who we're going to get in first. We also provide services out in the hospitals for people who have been raped. We provide hospital advocates to go out and work with them, to meet with them and their families, help them through the rape exam, and work with them through the legal process and the emotional support that they need. On the healing spectrum, Safe Place is very, very much about being able to provide counseling. All our services, our counseling services are free, both for people in the shelter and people in the community. Prevention, we have a huge program called Expect Respect, where we're out working with teens, because again, we've got to get to the roots of those problems and going back and letting kids know that this is not normal behavior, that this is not normal dating when your boyfriend pulls your hair or tells you what to wear or calls you 20 times a day. So really working to change those cycles, but we also within that have counseling programs for women and men who in the schools, teenagers who are already either experiencing violence or who are showing signs of maybe being an abuser. So really working on trying to change those patterns. And then in terms of social change, just really looking forward and working with advocacy groups, collaborating, working with law enforcement, working with the hospitals, again, so that people, and I think several people said it, so we're not re-victimizing those individuals who are really seeking help, being sure that we're providing everything they need.
Excellent, thank you. And I'm Pam Owens with LNPRD here, and I'm the facilitator today, and my job, of course, is to keep the conversation going and to take your questions.